r/AskReddit. What do you believe, but cannot prove? Childhood friends stole my copy of Super Smash Bros. Melee. Haunts me to this day. Did they do it? I'll never know. That's treason. Kind of same but worse. Lent my SNES with Super Mario All-Stars to a friend for a weekend. He said it was stolen when he was asleep. That some people wait around until they see someone sitting or parked by themselves and then go sit or park close to them. I don't know what their goal is, but it happens so many times there has to be something going on. This happens to me all the time. I purposely park far away from the store, usually within the last few rows, and I usually have plenty of empty spots on both sides of my car. Inevitably when I come back to my car there is someone parked in a spot right next to my car, even though there are lots of empty spaces in the same row. I absolutely hate this too. The vehicle I drive doesn't have a great turning radius, so it's much easier to get in and out of parking spaces when I have an open space on each side. It's so frustrating purposely leaving space when parking only to come out and someone parked right next to you when there's tons of other open spaces. I'm physically disabled, and as my issues have worsened with time I've gone from directly working with patients to a desk job. Around the time COVID started, I finally had to request some gear to be able to do my job due to my issues. At my employer, this sort of thing comes out of the office budget. Recently I got an interview for another area, and it went really well. A short time after, a coworker I vaguely know contacted me and asked me a lot of questions about my disability and the recent aid I needed to continue doing my job. I didn't think anything of it, as people get curious and ask me questions every so often. She did ask a lot of oddly in-depth questions about how our employer made changes for my disability. Time passes, and I hear nothing about the position. I contact the hiring manager, and whereas before she was friendly and open, she talks to me now like she has someone with a gun standing behind her and she's afraid to say the wrong thing. Eventually she tells me the position was filled, and she doesn't know why I wasn't told, even though she's the one who would do the notification. A few days later it's announced that the woman who was asking me all the questions got the job. I had no idea she was interviewing, and I suspect one of her higher up friends tipped her off I was her competition. From things that have happened since, I suspect she talked about me in the interview, and convinced the hiring manager hiring me would mean expenditures to account for my disability, and that being disabled I wouldn't be able to keep up with my work like non-disabled employees. But I can't prove any of it. This pissed me off. Subway was much higher quality 20 years ago. Fast food in general was higher quality 20 years ago, with some exception. The largest exception is probably chicken nuggets. 20 years ago they were more like deep fried chicken bone milkshake. But since they were largely marketed towards kids, no one cared what kind of quality they were. I can believe this as well. I can't really say I like Subway more or less now, but so much stuff seems to have gotten worse over the years. Also, I don't know if this is a factor, but I recall somebody saying that the change in food flavors had to do with the movement to eliminate trans fats from foods, so ingredients were altered. McDonald's fries aren't worth getting anymore unless they are right out of the fryer. People in general across the world want to live in peace. I've traveled a lot, and you're right, 99% of people are like you and me. Go to work, go to the shops, sit in a cafe, just getting on with life. I went to a Guns N' Roses aka Axl Rose concert during the Barrelhead days, around 2006 I think. Anyway, I'm about 99% sure that the singer on stage was not really Axl. I was such a huge fan, so I'd seen them on this tour a couple times already. He looked like Axl and sounded like him, but there was something off about it. Can't put my finger on it, but I really think that it was a very good impersonator. I don't know why this story creeped me out more than any other here. Me too. I don't get why impersonators freak me out, not professional ones, but suspecting someone is someone else. Like that weird Avril Lavigne conspiracy theory about how she's dead and was replaced. I don't know much about Axl Rose, but I feel like he's the kind of guy who's lucky to have lived this long. I wouldn't be surprised if the actual Axl Rose isn't much more than a good impression of himself. Apparently he wasn't as into the hard stuff as everyone else. Google Maps collects data on speeding driving habits and sells them to insurance or another private company, even with location off. There was that one guy who made a traffic jam just by walking with a wagon full of phones. One of my best friends from middle school up and disappeared with his entire family. Seriously, there one day, totally empty house the next. No phone calls, no texts, no social media. I'm convinced the whole family was in witness protection. Edit. Added a missing word. Were people looking for them? And did it make the news? My best friend in 5th grade disappeared one day. He just did not come to school. None of his siblings came to school. They all had received perfect attendance awards for every year they were in school, and one day they just stopped coming. Turns out his dad was viciously beating his mom and the kids, so she just packed up the kids one night and drove to Florida where her family was at. Around 1995 I was away in college. Broke up with a girlfriend, and when she left she took the remote for the TV. I just figured I misplaced it. I moved back to my hometown a month later. Soon I bought a new TV and never thought about it again. About 4 years later we get back in contact. We were from the same geographic area. She drops by my new place for a coffee, and after she leaves I can't find the remote for my new TV. I search everywhere, and in a crack under the back cushion on the couch I found the remote for the old TV. Never did find the remote I needed for the new TV. I'm sure she stole both of them and pulled the switcheroo years later. Now that's a long con. In the near future an app or social media site will be created that essentially functions the way labor unions were meant to function. It will cause upheaval. Places like Walmart and manufacturers will suddenly have to deal with flash strikes. These companies will suddenly come up with an app that you have to use to see your schedule that definitely doesn't read info on your phone, such as which apps you have installed. When my mom died, my dad and I basically lived in a stupor for nearly a full year. But then we both kind of agreed we needed to move on, and we spent all of August and September cleaning and renovating our apartment from top to bottom, keeping things of hers that were important, and giving away, donating, tossing the rest. All of her clothes, makeup, perfume, we gave away or donated. I steam cleaned the floors and upholstery twice. We kills primed the walls and painted in them, scrubbed and or painted anything that stood still long enough. We even got new curtains and blinds. It looked like a new place. It smelled like a new place. Christmas was big for my mom, and I have strong memories of her staying up all Christmas Eve baking and wrapping last-minute gifts. We did not celebrate Christmas the year before. Both of us had barely even noticed it had passed. So the next year I stepped into the idea of taking up the traditions my mom had left behind, including the staying up late and finishing baking and wrapping. It was late, like 2 or 3 AM, and the whole apartment smelled like peppermint chocolate from the cookies I was making. And I went to get more tape from the desk next to where my mom's recliner used to be, and I got hit with the smell of her perfume so strongly, just how it smelled when it was on her a while, which was spicier and not as floral as it would be straight from the bottle. I swear I smelled the smoke of the herbal cigarettes she would buy herself a pack of for special occasions. It was so strong and so real, and when I got closer to the spot I swear I could almost feel her there, like I expected her and her chair to suddenly appear there in that spot. I just stood there for a few seconds, and then the smell was gone. I grabbed the tape and went back to wrapping, telling myself it was some kind of reaction to my first real holiday celebration with my mom. I told myself it was probably trapped in the carpet or in my mind. It's not real. I went and sniffed there multiple times a day for weeks. And finally I went and bought a steam cleaner and went over that spot multiple times, hoping that the steam would make that smell rise from the carpet, and I could call myself a big baby. But it didn't pull up anything but carpet cleaner and some cat hair. But to this ducking day I swear to whatever deity or lack thereof there is, she was there, or some part of her was. I can't prove it or disprove it, and despite my real want to say it was just some sort of trick my mind played on me, because it'd be easier for me to accept that, I can't help but believe in it. It never happened again, and after living in it for 3 more Christmases we left that place 4 years ago, and as far as I know, no one has reported any smells or anything, so it was probably just my warped mind, but I still believe it was her. That's a beautiful story. Intelligent life exists outside of our solar system. That phones listen to everything I say during the day. Stuff I type on messaging apps. Phone calls I make with people. I already know they track my online activity, but I had a very heated argument with a friend. We're both fresh IT grads, and he vehemently refused the fact that phones could listen while idle. I've tried doing a ton of research but nothing shows up. I've done experiments when I've taken a friend's phone and we had a casual conversation about stuff that I'm interested in and he's not. Makeup, fashion, etc. And within 5 minutes, he opened Instagram and got ads for those very things. I really believe there's some big revelation coming in the tech industry within the next 5 years, and it's not going to be pretty. I won the lottery in 1999. I went to my local grocery store on the Saturday as I always did in the morning. I bought milk, coffee and tea bags for my boss. I walked to the counter and paid for everything and then handed the teller my ticket to check it in the machine. They beeped the ticket in the reader and literally jumped up and down shouting jackpot jackpot. Then the machine went grrr Brett VVRMMM as it printed out a receipt. The teller instantly said ha ha ha, only joking, and threw my ticket in the trash, and they laughed the entire time. See, I would always joke with these guys about everyday stuff. I'm lighthearted and I try my best to make people's days better. Here's the thing that makes me know I won the jackpot. The machine doesn't make any noise when you beep reader loser. It doesn't print a receipt. It doesn't go grrr Brett VVRMM. It's silent. So I just kinda laughed and said you got me, and I didn't think through the process of the receipt printing, the noise or their reaction until I got back to my office. Then after a while I thought, I'll go back and get my ticket out of their trash. I'll make up a reason I need my ticket. I want to play the same numbers next week, so I would like to copy it. Sounds reasonable, right? I went back and asked for the ticket. Everyone was flustered, but being me, I just thought I caught them at the wrong time. So I just asked to look at the bin garbage and I'll get my ticket. There wasn't a single ticket in that bin garbage. There was trash from the same day but 0 lottery tickets. Me, being stupid, just went along with it, even though my alarm bells were ringing. The family that owned that grocery store for 20 plus years were gone within a month, and when I saw the teller, a family member, she was dressed in high-end designer clothes. 6 months later she literally ran away from me beat red. I won the lottery. That what I see as blue is the same as what you see as blue. This may be provable, but I can't. Honestly, I think about this a lot. Like, we are all taught what colors are called, so there is no real way to know what I see and call blue is the same hue as you. I wonder if that's why some people are better at color coordination than others. There is some culture on earth that has realized that denim is better for drying hands than both tissue paper and air dryers, and so has denim paper instead. Sir, I'd like to talk to you about a business proposition. Dracula is actually based on Jesus, not Vlad the Impaler. The similarities with Vlad end with staking. Jesus, however, has many attributes that are similar to Dracula vampires. Jesus rose from the dead after 3 days. Most vampire laws have the transformation taking place in 3 days, or if they don't feed in 3 days they die. Vampires are harmed by silver. Jesus was betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. The only religious symbol portrayed as causing harm is the crucifix, which is a device used to torture Jesus. Vampires can be killed with a stake to the heart. When Jesus was nailed to the cross, he was injured by a pike puncturing his left side, near the heart. During the Last Supper, Jesus said, "Drink this wine, for it is my blood," a direct reference to drinking blood. It's not proof, but it makes more sense that the things that would have affected a person in life would have some effect on them in death. Tiny problem though. Vampire lore predates the birth of Jesus. Not just blood drinking monsters, but specifically things with a recognizably similar name. Lots of generic goods are the exact same as name brand stuff. They just package them differently. My grandma's dad worked at some popular bread company in New York. They made bread for grocery store brands, so yes, I are correct. Kropotkin's theory of mutual aid, that as a social species we thrive off of cooperation, not competition. And competition actually makes us miserable because it goes against our most basic instincts of empathy to others. Hell, it's even compatible with Darwin's original theory, as fittest means best adapted to their environment and not destroying everyone else. Later addition. Things like sports etc. Peaceful competition are games we play together. Edit 2. Okay, so this was maybe not the kind of belief OP prompted, but hey, a good discussion is a good discussion. PM me book Rex if you feel like it. 3. I forget the exact words, but I think I remember hearing that in The Descent of Man he used the words love and cooperation far more than the word competition. Starbucks baristas intentionally spelled people's names wrong in order to make their chain memorable. I worked at Starbucks, and the amount of crap customers give baristas about spelling names wrong before we even write the names on the cups is ridiculous. I never did it, but I wouldn't be surprised if some partners did it just cause customers can be rude. Side note, but I once had a customer say her name was Emily, so I wrote Emily on the cup, and she came back to yell at me because she spells it Emily. Like, first of all, that's stupid. Second of all, who would ever know that? I remember having literally 3 Caitlins in a row and all 3 of them spelled them differently. This was before my store got sticker machines and we still wrote on cups. And the next woman said her name was Kim, and I said jokingly, hahaha, finally a name I can spell with confidence. As I penned out KIM on the cup, she gave me the most apologetic look and said it's KYMM. Sorry, my parents are the worst. All smartphone companies slowly sabotage their older models when newer ones come out, so you are forced to get a new one. I feel like this one is provable. It's called planned obsolescence, and Apple lost a court case over it recently. That my sister-in-law was ducking my brother's best friend while he was in the hospital fighting leukemia. My brother died and the best friend moved into his house 6 months later. I believe there are people alive right now who will live for a very, very long time, as in as long as they want. Life extension is a thing they're actually working on. There is serious scientific research in delaying and eventually stopping and reversing aging. I think within 100 years we will figure it out, maybe even by the end of this century. And there are definitely people alive now who will be alive in 100 years. No new tech required for that. I sold my Nintendo Wii for a profit as a kid. My parents bought it for $250, I sold it for $400, so I made $400 since it wasn't my money. I showed my uncle the day I got paid. Next thing you know, I check my money again that night because $400 was a lot for me and now it's only $200. I guess my uncle left me half, which was generous. I can't prove this, but he was arrested for breaking into a house and stealing some things, so that leads me to believe that I was right. Trump never intended to win the presidency. He was broke and looking for a way to boost his personal brand. Deja vu. I really do believe I did whatever it is before. Black holes each contain a universe. The creation of a black hole is its big bang, and the matter it absorbs is what drives the expansion of its universe. Ghosts are people stuck in a parallel dimension next to our own. Social media has made everything worse. I remember when the internet was just becoming a thing, and I thought it would be revolutionary. Everyone would have access, the accurate information would never be in the dark again. Instead, services like Facebook are designed to feed people's disillusions for extra clicks, and people fall for it hook, line and sinker. Life exists elsewhere in the universe. I think Chancellor Palpatine is a Sith Lord. Some celebrities fake their deaths to retire from public eyes. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.